Cloudflare Entertainment is a holding company of many online gaming companies responsible for the Paddy Power and Betfair brands. At heart, we are a technology company operating in a very dynamic financial market. We handle lots of transactions, people's assets and personal information, and we take that role very seriously. We had a very extensive credential stuffing attack. 70 to 90% of all our traffic was classified as malicious traffic. After using Cloudflare Bot Management, we managed to drive down, in certain situations, up to 90% the rate of these events. And that obviously meant a great deal from a financial perspective from us, probably more than £2 million per year. For us, bot management and the bot score gives us great visibility into the nature of the visitor. We really love that. It gives us a sense of control. The Cloudflare team was there for us in every way. What we really loved about it is how deeply technical they were. They helped us debug a lot of very complicated situations. Cloudflare is the biggest and most cost-effective security upgrade that you can take in the shortest period of time.
Hello, everyone. Hello, hi, welcome to our session today on stopping bots and doing so without CAPTCHAs. My name is Dan here at Cloudflare. I have my colleague Humair with me who will lead us through a demo at the end of our session on how we are using bot management and replacing CAPTCHAs. Now, just a quick note, you've done these before. There is a Q&A here, so please drop questions in as they pop up along the way, and we will get to them if we can. So, without further ado, we actually do like to kick off many of our conversations with our mission, and that is to help build a better internet, as you see here. That means an internet that is faster, that is more reliable, more secure for everybody. Now, to do this, to carry out our mission, we use our network as our foundation, and that's the asset upon which we build everything. And you can see here, we're now in some 275 cities the world over. We have more than 10,000 interconnects, making us one of the best connected networks in the world. And all told, our Anycast network today has some 155 terabits of network capacity or network surface. Now, when we think about application security or bots, there are a couple of things that stand out. And that's the fact that we process with our global cloud network some 48 million requests per second. Or I should say up to 48 million requests per second. And all told, day in, day out, oftentimes we'll block in the neighborhood of 117 billion threats. And this ultimately means, why this matters, is we ultimately train our models with more data to make them sharper, to ultimately yield a better security posture for our customers. Now, something else that really is important about our network is, maybe it's obvious, but it's important to say, it's fast. We're faster on more global networks than competitors. And in the context of bots, that means we can really stop bots without adding latency, something that's really important. So let's talk for a minute about the products or services we offer on our network. And we're not going to drain this slide. And today, certainly, we're focusing on bots. And that's in the application services box, that dark blue box in the upper right. But suffice to say, we can do a lot with our network. You might know us for CDN or DDoS or bots or WAF. But you may not realize that over the past couple of years, we've continued to grow our Zero Trust portfolio and our cloud-delivered network and network security portfolio, or SASE. Now, at the same time, we've also been offering a set of developer services, of serverless computing, Cloudflare Workers, which may ring a bell. And it really lets teams build the next generation of their applications on Cloudflare. Really powerful stuff. So with that said, let's pivot into the challenge of bots. And you see here a snapshot of bot traffic. On any given day, a third or more of the internet is actually comprised of automated traffic or bots. And this is obviously a big deal, in the fact that we should consider doing our best to block about a third of the traffic that hits our sites. A third. Now, the snapshot you see here, the detail you see here, is from Cloudflare Radar. That is our global internet portal that tracks internet trends in real time, naturally including bot traffic. And you can find Radar at radar.cloudflare.com. Now, a common question when we talk about bots that comes up is, hey, what about the good bots, the verified bots, the Googles or the Bings? Well, it turns out that's only a tiny, tiny fraction of the bots we see. The rest of the bots are likely unwanted, and we should do our best to filter them out. So moving along here, you're likely familiar with bot attacks given you're on our session today, but suffice it to say, customers come to us for help with a lot of different bot attack types. And so when we think about bot management, we think about stopping all of the attack types you see here on the slide. Stuffing attacks, be it credential stuffing or credit card stuffing that can lead to account takeover or illicit purchases. We see scraping attacks here, of course, where a competitor can string up a bot to undermine your business operations. Inventory hoarding, right? Particularly troublesome around the holidays when bots snap up highly sought after low inventory items, leaving real customers frustrated. You know, we need to think about stopping all of these bot attacks. So when we think about bots, we think about all of the use cases: security, marketing, fraud, and say e-commerce. So when you think about stopping bots, let's consider this at the highest of levels. And we'll break this into 4 steps and then look at those. Now, the first step here we see is analyzing all the requests that come in, or in our case, all the requests that hit our edge, to scrutinize them, to understand their characteristics, and hopefully detect bots. Now, the second is to take that data, take those data analytics and really visualize them so organizations or customers can see the likely good traffic they want to permit and then the likely bad bot traffic they want to take action on. Now, the third step, of course, is taking action. That's creating protections, creating rules. And oftentimes that means, of course, blocking the particular automated traffic an organization wants to stop. Now, step 4 here is this last step. And this is in the occasional case of doubt, when we want to further scrutinize, further challenge a request to just make sure we know it's human. Now, to date, the industry broadly has used CAPTCHAs to do this. Not a great experience. And naturally, we'll talk a lot more about that. But of course, we do need to occasionally challenge a request. So with that said, let's just talk, very briefly about how these 4 aspects are represented in bot management solutions. Now, bot management should have multiple detection layers, right, to analyze requests, to detect bots, right? And those detections should be tied to granular visibility and analytics into the bot activity. And that means, of course, scoring every request on its likelihood of bot or not. Now, something else that's really important here, and I want to mention this again, because I already mentioned performance, but you should never see a trade-off between good bot management and performance. That means bot management should never add latency. And if you know Cloudflare, you probably won't be surprised to learn that we keep a very close eye on latency. And for bot management, our median latency is actually under 0.3 milliseconds, something that's very, very important. So let's jump into that first step we talked about a moment ago, and that is analyzing every request. And of course, at Cloudflare, we do indeed stick to our word. We analyze every request that hits our edge. So that means that every customer, even those not using bot management, keep our bot management customers protected. All of those up to 48 million requests I mentioned a moment ago train our bot detection. So naturally, our bot management customers come out ahead because their bot detections are powered by every request that hits Cloudflare. And that can be up to 1 trillion requests a day. So when we say you need to analyze every request, that is indeed what we mean. Now, we want to go a bit deeper on what we mean by this analysis, these detections. And we actually combine 5 complementary layers of bot detections here. And you can see them on the slide. And each of these layers produces their own bot score, which we ultimately combine to form a single bot score for every request that we can then enforce upon. Now, naturally at the top, we want to allow the good bots, the verified bots, right? We list those. But then at that point, all requests are then checked by our heuristics engine, which really matches every request fingerprint against a database of malicious fingerprints. And if no threat is found at that point, anomaly detection comes into play. And that's our unsupervised machine learning. And that effectively is site specific. And it learns the traffic baselines, the traffic patterns of a particular site, and then can measure against that to understand any malicious outliers. Then we actually run our supervised machine learning. And we can say this is largely the heart of what bot management comprises, because this runs on every single request that hits Cloudflare. And this ultimately means that we can see threats very, very deeply, given that we've got a bigger, more diverse set of data, all these requests hitting our edge, that can be used to guide and train our machine learning and generate these bot scores. Now, lastly is an optional JavaScript fingerprinting layer. And this is really effective at identifying bot attacker tools like headless browsers. And the JavaScript fingerprinting performs some lightweight, sort of largely invisible JavaScript injection on the client side to further scrutinize it. Again, this is optional if organizations aren't interested. Now, I wanted to note or call out something that's we find very, very useful in detecting and stopping bots. And that's the use of JA3 fingerprints. Now, JA3 is a method for creating TLS client fingerprints. And it effectively takes a collection of settings from the TLS client hello and really combines them. And that fingerprint can be used in threat intelligence. And by exposing this JA3 fingerprint to customers, they've got a really good signal to understand and act on potentially malicious bot traffic. And they can do that by filtering on the JA3 hash in their bot analytics dashboard and then build rules to take action accordingly. So that brings us to bot analytics, that visualization piece we spoke about. And this is really important because obviously we've been able to analyze our requests, make some detections, and then we're able to visualize this in this bot analytics dashboard to understand good traffic versus likely bot traffic. Now, in terms of this visibility, we actually built a custom in-house bot analytics tool. So customers can view all aspects of bot management in real time. Now, this is visualization, the metadata, and it really shows the distribution of scoring for any site. And we'll see this in a minute in the demo. And we make a ton of data available in real time. You can filter or slice and dice on IP, on JA3 fingerprint, user agents, ASN, and more. And actually, I should note, this is a common question, this is also available via API, this data. So we're always pursuing the sharpest detections possible. And that means we're looking to thread the needle, so to speak, between security, stopping bots, and business. And for this reason, we actually have our bot feedback loop available. So customers can send feedback directly to us if they feel the request was somehow erroneously scored. And this way, we get feedback directly into the product, and that can better train our models, tighten up our detections, and of course, importantly, avoid occasional false positives. So let's move to this third step we talked about, and that is taking action or blocking bots. Now, of course, we've analyzed the requests, we've visualized them, and now we take action in blocking them. And we do this from our bot analytics dashboard with familiar firewall rules. Now, based on the analysis of your automated traffic, you can then create a firewall rule that takes action on the traffic. And again, we do this by using our bot scores in the rules. Now, as I mentioned, every request is scored based on all of those detections that get combined. And the score is on a scale of 1 to 99. 99 being good human traffic, and 1 being a bot. So in practice, we often see organizations building rules that do things like, say, block all scores from 1 to 20 or 1 to 25, and then challenge scores from 25 to 30 or 35. Now, of course, we can use a ton of other useful fields when we're building these firewall rules to take action on bots. They can be verified bots, they can be attack scores, JA3 fingerprints, like I mentioned. And of course, you also see we have a lot of response options that we can use to take action. That can be blocking very commonly. It can also be allowing if there's a good bot we want to let through. Could well be logging or could be challenging. And that brings us to the topic of CAPTCHAs. So I mentioned this before, but we all know in the case of doubt, we want to really triple check that the request is indeed coming from a human being. We'll challenge it. And to date, the industry has used CAPTCHAs to do this. And we actually, believe it or not, did the math on CAPTCHAs. And while it may sound like we're bending time and space with this, the world spends some 500 years a day solving CAPTCHAs. And the math is basically, our research team did this, is as follows. If the average CAPTCHA takes some 32 seconds to solve, and there are 4.6 billion internet users on Earth, and each of those users see one CAPTCHA every 10 days, when we crunch those numbers, we spend 500 years a day solving CAPTCHAs. Now, I don't know about you, but we see that as a lot of wasted time, a ton of frustration, and We haven't really heard any positive feedback about CAPTCHAs ever, really, from anybody. So we decided it was time for a change. And that is why we built a replacement for CAPTCHAs that challenges requests effectively without bothering the world with annoying visual challenges. So we built something we call Managed Challenge, because we really do indeed envision a future without CAPTCHAs. And in fact, at Cloudflare over the next couple of quarters, we're actually going to phase out CAPTCHAs entirely. That is our plan. And really, this is unique to Cloudflare, this vision of stopping bots and doing so without CAPTCHAs, since they're such a terrible experience. Now, again, we'll do this with Managed Challenge. And today, we're actually already avoiding CAPTCHAs or visual puzzles 90% of the time. Now, how does Managed Challenge work? Well, we start by running a series of small, non-interactive JavaScript challenges to get effectively signals or to scrutinize the request. And with those signals, we can then adapt the actual challenge we serve to that individual visitor, say. And really what that means is we can adjust or fine-tune the difficulty of the challenge and show harder or more difficult challenges to visitors exhibiting stronger sort of non-human behaviors, if you will. Now, we actually are sharing some blog posts here in the session, and if you look at those, you'll see some of these challenges include things like proof of work, proof of space. We look for things like web APIs, and then other various challenges that really detect browser quirks or human behavior. Now, Managed Challenge is currently our default challenge in bot management for customers as part of our vision to get rid of CAPTCHAs. But we didn't stop there. We've actually now added another powerful layer to Managed Challenges, and those are private access tokens. And you might have seen the work we did in June. We posted this on our blog on a new open standard we worked on with Apple and others. And this amounted to private access tokens, really more progress in helping to rid the world of CAPTCHAs. Now, private access tokens let people use their iPhones or their browsers, Safari, to prove the real instead of solving CAPTCHAs. And that in and of itself is terrific. But what's even better is we do this without sacrificing privacy. When these are used, when private access tokens are used, the device data is isolated and not explicitly shared between parties. So that means the manufacturer, Apple, doesn't share device data with Cloudflare, so privacy is preserved. Now, I'd encourage you to take a look at the blog of very interesting stuff. And really, it's very dead simple to take advantage of private access tokens. All customers have to do is use Managed Challenge in bot management. And the web visitors merely need to be running the newest version of iOS. I believe it's iOS 16 or macOS Ventura on their Macs. And upon doing so, they'll immediately start seeing fewer CAPTCHAs. But we're not stopping there. There's even more. And we're actually now offering a standalone CAPTCHA replacement for customers, be it bot management customers or other Cloudflare customers even not running bot management. We call it Challenge API. And we're looking to actually make Challenge API available to not only customers, but also the whole world soon enough. Anybody who has a site and wants to help us rid the world of CAPTCHAs. Now, Challenge API is easy to use. It's just a quick code snippet swap to connect the site to our Managed Challenges. And organizations will then phase out serving challenges to the CAPTCHAs to their web users and instead use our Managed Challenges for a better experience for all that also augments privacy. So naturally, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I'm going to turn it over to you and bring you in here so you can show us some of these things in action.
Okay, great, Dan. Thanks. Good stuff. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so I'm going to show a demo here of some of the capabilities Dan just discussed, specifically focused on how customers traditionally use Legacy CAPTCHA and now Cloudflare Managed Challenge, and what everyone will soon be able to do with Challenge API. But before I actually highlight those specific features, I also want to briefly walk through some of the additional bot management capabilities. So first, a few details on the demo environment. For demo and analytic purposes, I've automated traffic being generated 24/7, and that's reflected here in the dashboard, where you see about 5 million requests over the last 24 hours. And if I go here and look a little bit more at the analytics, you can see more details on the requests, including geolocation, paths, user agents, IP addresses, and much more. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the security overview section here. And this is where you can see an overview of all the security related events. And you can see here what's being logged, what's being blocked. You can even see how many times the legacy CAPTCHA and managed challenge have actually been hit. And you can even click into these and get much more additional details. And again, if I scroll down, I can see more details on the requests, such as IP addresses, user agents, paths, and you can see here even what specific firewall rules are being hit the most. Now, if I scroll down farther, I can see activity log, where I can really dig into more specifics, like what the bot score is and what Cloudflare engine detected the bot. So let's take a look at an example here. I'm just going to open this first one here. So you can see here, for this request, the user agent was this Python. Now, this is a common Python library, which is used to send HTTP requests. So our Cloudflare heuristics engine picked this up and saw this is automated, gave it a bot score of 1, which I'm consequently also blocking on. Now, as Dan mentioned, Cloudflare's multi-layer bot detection. So the heuristics engine was used here, but this also could have been, some of our other detection engines. The heuristic engine basically looks at different characteristics of the request, like user agent, bot agent, fingerprints. It gives a bot score of 1 if it discovers the request was automated, which was the case here. Now, the engine could have also been behavioral analysis or anomaly detection, comparing requests against a traffic pattern baseline for that specific site, or our most commonly used detection engine, machine learning, which analyzes the traffic across historical data Cloudflare has from its global footprint across millions of sites protected by Cloudflare. It returns a bot score of 2 to 99, as Dan mentioned, with lower numbers being more likely to be automated. And usually anything below a bot score of 30 is likely to be automated. Now I'm going to jump over to our WAF here. And bot score is really great and really useful here because you can leverage it in firewall rules to create very granular policies. So let's look at an example here. So here you can see I'm logging every request going to a specific URI from a specific ASN or network, right, where the bot score is less than 30. And I'm excluding verified bots. So these could be, bots like search engines, like Google, for example, which we don't want to block. And also down here, like under the actions, you have a number of different actions you can take. Here, I'm just going ahead and logging it. Another useful things I should mention here is bot score is also exposed in logs and workers. So you can leverage our workers serverless platform, and write code that based on the bot score can actually manipulate the response, okay? So I'm gonna jump now to part of the demo where I'm gonna go to this login page I created. So now for use cases where you're not sure if it's a malicious bot or human and don't wanna flat out block, you can apply manage challenge or challenge API instead of the traditional legacy CAPTCHAs. So I created this login page here I'm going to use for the demo and compare legacy CAPTCHA to manage challenge and API challenge. It's a pretty straightforward login page. I'm going to jump here to the WAF. And under the WAF, I created specific rules. I'm going to go to this one where the action is legacy CAPTCHA. And you can see here, if the bot score is less than 30 and the user agent is a specific version of Firefox going to this specific URI, which is the login page I just showed, I want to perform a legacy CAPTCHA. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my Firefox and I'm going to go ahead and go to that login page and we'll see what happens here. And as expected, the user is served this CAPTCHA challenge to prove he's not a bot. Not a great user experience. I know I've been frustrated by these. Let me try to go ahead and just complete this. Hopefully don't mess it up here. I think I got them all. Verify. So, okay, great. I passed the challenge. It lets me proceed. You can see, although, you know, it can help block the bots, it can be a very frustrating and unpleasant experience for the user. Now, I'm going to jump back to the WAF here. And you can see I created another rule here with an action for managed challenge. So I'm going to take a look at this rule. And basically, in this rule, what I'm saying is, if the request comes in, and just go into this URI, I'm not specifying an agent, go ahead and perform the managed challenge. Now, this is where Cloudflare dynamically chooses the appropriate type of challenge based on the characteristics of that request. It can determine to perform some non-interactive challenge, or in lesser cases, an interactive challenge or CAPTCHA, but the idea is to minimize the use of CAPTCHAs as much as possible. So now I'm going to go ahead, and I already have Chrome open, so I'm just going to go ahead and navigate to that page, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so you saw that interstitial page there, and as expected, a non-interactive challenge is executed to prove user is not a bot, and a much better overall user experience. Now, I have managed challenge enabled on this login page. Next, what I'm going to try doing is using a credential stuffing bot I wrote in Perl to try to hack the login. And we'll go ahead and see what happens in this case. Now, bear with me. I'm going to switch over some networks here, so you might lose me for a couple seconds. I'll be right back if that happens. Okay, so I'm pulling up the script there. So here's the script. I'm going to go back to my home page here. Actually, I don't even need to go to that because what I'm showing you here is all through the script. I'm going to go ahead and run the script. So this bot is trying to access the page to then loop through credentials. Most likely, you know, if a hacker is actually doing this, it's going to be stolen credentials. And you can see it's just being denied. Now, for some visibility here, you can go to the activity log. And I know this is a managed challenge, you know, because these are the rules I've set up. So I'm just going to go ahead and filter on the managed challenge here. Okay, we'll go down and I want to look. I'm just going to open one of these up so we can take a deeper look. And you can see here the user agent is Perl, and the action taken was managed challenge. And you can see the anomaly detection engine picked this up, saying, hey, this is not a type of request we typically see for this login page, and it set the bot score to 1. Now, I set the action to specifically be a managed challenge for this case, you know, because I wanted to show managed challenge. Typically, you would just block on a bot score of 1. Another useful feature here is you can also go to the WAF rules and see how many times the legacy CAPTCHA or managed challenge has been issued and solved. So the challenge solve rate, or CSR, is basically the challenges solved divided by the challenges issued, and gives you an idea of the type of traffic and how often the challenges are actually being solved. I'm going to go ahead and disable managed challenge here for the next part of the demo. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move into talking a little bit about the challenge API. Very cool stuff. The challenge API allows customers to run challenges anywhere on their site in even a more less intrusive way. So what users can do is embed code within their page that performs a challenge right on their site based on a specific widget or action that's performed, such as submitting a form. And if the challenge gets solved, the token is produced that's verified by Cloudflare. Now, with Challenge API, users don't see any interstitial page, and also customers don't have to set up firewall rules to control when the challenge is actually triggered. So let me go here to my login page. So this is kind of my editor for my web page. And now for the sake of time and simplicity, I've already created my web page where I created a widget, basically a form that uses Challenge API. The mode I've set to is managed, but it can also be non-interactive or invisible. The Challenge API is embedded and initialized on the customer page. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert the Challenge API JavaScript in the header of the page. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and let's go ahead and save this, publish it. Okay, so that's published. And what this does is basically makes the global Challenge API object and function available. So now using Chrome, I'll navigate to that same login page, and we'll see what happens. And we can see here, we didn't see any interstitial page or intermediate page, and there was no firewall rules we had to set up. The API challenge is embedded right in the page, and based on my configuration, did a managed challenge. Pretty cool. So that's it for the demo. I'll hand it back over to Dan to wrap up and Q&A.
All right, thank you, Humir. Yeah, indeed, a picture is worth 1,000 words. There are a number of questions coming in, Humir, and why don't we actually chat through a handful of them? And I know Adam is very busy answering these questions. Adam, thank you. And I should note, if we don't get your, obviously, all of the individual questions answered, we will follow up afterwards to make sure that you are in ship shape. So with that said, I mean, here's a common one. I think we've heard this in the past when the Challenge API has come up. How do I start using Challenge API? Humir, I think you started talking about that, but just to confirm.
Yeah. So right now, since there's not GA, if you want to get started with it, you can go ahead and reach out to your account team at that level. In terms of how to actually use it, very, very straightforward. You're going to go ahead and basically you're going to create a site, what is it called? Site API. Yeah, site key. Sorry. Thank you, Dan. Site key and a secret, and you're going to use that and basically take some code, use that site key and that code, embed that code on your web page, and that's basically going to be able to interact with our Challenge API platform. So very straightforward.
Yeah, good stuff here. So actually, with Managed Challenge, here's the question that came in a couple of times. Can users still get a challenge where they actually have to interact?
Yeah, so that can happen, but again, it's very unlikely. The idea of Managed Challenge is to move users away from, CAPTCHA and interactive challenges. So although it can happen, it's very unlikely. We'll take a look at all of the information we have about the request, the details, the specific things we use to do that analysis, and then we'll make a decision. The Managed Challenge is very smart compared to, using something like CAPTCHA, where it then factors in all those details and tries its very best not to do anything interactive. And I think if you look at our numbers overall, any kind of interaction is somewhere in the ballpark of around less than 3%.
Okay, a couple of questions here about Challenge API. What's the difference between the Challenge API modes you were reviewing, and do people have to sign up for any additional services to start using it? Yeah,
so first, you don't have to sign up for any additional services. The goal here is really to move the internet away from CAPTCHAs and give users an easy way to be able to do that. Now, what are the different modes? So we have managed mode, which is what we saw in the demo. And based on the different criteria, we select the appropriate challenge or course of action with the goal, again, of really making sure we try to minimize the use of any kind of interaction like CAPTCHA. Non-interactive mode will basically ensure only non-interactive challenges are used, but will still display the presence that, hey, there was some challenge taking place. And then we also have that invisible mode, which I mentioned, which will perform the non-interactive challenge, but user won't have any visible clue that this challenge is actually being done in the background.
Got it. Interesting stuff. Let's see, one more, and there are a number of questions. Again, if we can't get to all of them, we will actually follow up afterwards. Let's see. So how can I better understand the traffic that is likely to be blocked or impacted with the bot management policies? This is a question that came in.
Yeah, this is a really, really good question and something that comes up a lot. And a lot of people, why they come to Cloudflare to actually help us with help with this. Not only this, but generally trying to understand traffic patterns in general. So this is where our powerful analytics capabilities can be leveraged to better understand your traffic and really have some visibility into what that legitimate traffic breakdown looks like. So initially, we recommend logging and reviewing the request logs and respective bot scores we provide, along with the category breakdowns and analysis of the traffic we're providing. And with that data, then you can put into place these effective, more effective policies catered to your particular site.
Indeed, indeed. Awesome stuff. Well, listen, we are going to leave it there. There are a number of questions we're in the process of answering. Rest assured, we will follow up, or your account teams will follow up to make sure you have your questions answered and we can move forward. We're really grateful. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you, helping us in our mission to help rid the internet of CAPTCHAs and stop bots while we are doing it. So once again, many thanks. Appreciate it. And for those questions we've unanswered, we will follow up and be in touch. Take care.